We're on. All right, thank you, Zach. Welcome everybody to the planning board meeting of Tuesday, September 10th. On the agenda tonight, we've got a revised agenda, but anyhow, we've got a preliminary subdivision application for Auburn Residential Development Corp. New business, so that's the old one, the How one. Has that been?
That's the one that's been tabled, or they've
Okay.
asked to be moved to the next one.
Okay, so that's going to be tabled, and then we have a formal shoreline zoning application for Costello and Angeline Hines at 6 Haskell Lane, map 22, lot 12. So we can start with the minutes, please. I want to have a chance to read through this. It's pretty easy from the last meeting. Anyone have any
Well, the other
things
thing I
that need to be
noticed-
adjusted, or we?
Yeah, under minutes, it says July 33rd.
23rd,
So I didn't know if we had a different calendar. We were
I don't want that month.
That's the other thing I saw.
Other than that, we good?
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm good, yeah.
Approval?
I'll make a motion.
Motion?
We approve of it. August 27th.
27.
Yeah. Is that it?
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor? So under old business, we have the Auburn Housing Residential Development Corp., Main Street, Route 26, map 6, lot 47E. They've been before us a few times, and the last time, was that the only issue that we had, was the road permit?
Yes,
Coming in from the
then
DOT?
that will close out the
Right, so they had went
preliminary
from originally a different design into a new
Yes.
design that we approved,
Yes,
and then it was just dealing with the DOT permit.
yep,
to get
Yep.
that. So, I'm sorry, just state your name, please, and we can go from there.
you can sit, you don't have to stand at the top.
Sounds great.
There are actually mics in the ceiling, I'm told, so you could,
Point it away, all right.
yeah, just have
Just
at
knock away. All right, my name is Chris Taylor. I'm an engineer with Sebago Technics, representing the applicant tonight. I know Jamie was here with my company before you at your June meeting to present the project, and it seems like it was pretty wrapped up except for the DOT entrance permit, which has since been acquired by for the development, and that was submitted and should be in front of you tonight. There are a number of waivers that were included with that entrance permit. Those were consistent with the previous development and the entrance permit for the previously proposed development back in 2020, I believe it was.
So once again, as I'm looking at this, since I appreciate that you keep all this, so we tabled this back in June on the 25th, and it was basically to deal with the road permit. And anybody have any other questions on that? As he said, there were some waivers, but they were all discussed amongst main DOT, and everything seemed to be what it needs to be. So I'll just go through this one, check everything, and
Yep.
so everybody whistle along while I do this. 'Cause it's... Can I do a Carl just for once?
Go for it.
Just,
Maybe rest in peace.
yeah, unfortunately. I know it's not up to you to discuss things that are outside of your purview, but with the permit, with this all being permitted, is there a time frame once again, that they're looking to start either grubbing in the road or, start the building? Unfortunately, if anybody watched the news this
No,
morning, there was
this-
25 units that were
perfect.
blown up in
Perfect
Auburn.
night for me. Good evening, I'm Marty Sedlowski, I'm the Executive Director of the Auburn Housing Authority. With the subdivision plan approval, that will put us in a position for the main housing as the rural
Right.
rental housing program, which they have not yet announced. The details of that program, we expect that's gonna happen sometime this month or early October with a grant submission date probably in the December timeframe, and then it may take them a month or two to determine. So with a grant and a loan as part of the package, that would put us into a situation to secure funding for the complete project and be able to move forward. So we would expect that it could be about this time next year, maybe August, that we would really begin in earnest with the development.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Sarah, in the last time that they came in, we were good, the fire department and sheriffs, everybody,
Mhm.
we're good with that,
Mhm.
correct? So,
Yep.
okay. So do I need to refill this part out? No. So, I guess we were waiting, we tabled this because of the DOT entrance permit, so if I can get a motion on the final application with that, or do you want to do?
Approve the
submission?
checklist and
So the
then.
checklist, okay, we'll do the
Yep.
checklist since, okay. So can I have a motion on the checklist, please?
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion that the Murray major subdivision application for Auburn Residential Development Corporation, Main Street, Route 26, map 6, lot 47E, submission checklist complete.
Second, please?
Second.
Discussion? Anybody know? Oh, okay, all those in favor? I'll have a motion for the
Approval.
approval, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for the preliminary major subdivision for Auburn Residential Development Corporation, Main Street, Route 26, map 6, lot 47E, is approved.
And once
Are there
again-
any contingencies we need to add to that, other than,
Not that I can think of off the top of my head,
But
but
do we have to do no public
No
hearing?
public hearing, no
No
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
right, the boilerplate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's in there.
Need a second, maybe?
Yeah, I need a second, please.
I'll second that.
Any discussion, anybody from the audience? Nope. All those in favor? Wonderful. So everything's good, reach out to get permits from the office
All right,
when you go forward.
thank you very much.
Okay, have a good evening.
Yeah.
oh no,
That's what
we'll
we're
be
doing.
doing
We're just
the
talking about
final
permits.
is the next step.
What's that?
Final is the next step.
Yes.
He just said permits, I'm like,
I
no,
know,
we're not there
I was
yet.
like, wait,
I was gonna say, are we?
No?
So, just to be clear, so we'll have one more meeting to come to?
Yes,
Okay. and-
there's, I don't have the final piece in my head, so I
Yeah.
can't give you that aspect at the moment, but give me a call later this week and we can definitely go over it. Scott is on
Okay.
vacation, but
Okay,
we'll
sounds
definitely.
good.
look through those
Okay,
pieces.
great, okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Exactly.
So the McGuire Hill one is been tabled, so, wow, like, 7:30. Wouldn't that be nice?
To the record, Jim?
Oh, my God. I'm still 10 minutes past where Corral was, so.
Yeah, that's true.
We have formal shoreline zoning application for Costello and Hines at 6 Haskell Lane, map 22, lot 12, this was a packet that was, separate packet. Stuart, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Jim. How's the board doing?
Well,
Heather, how are
we're
you?
trying to make things easy, that we can go home and either do something that we should be doing or don't want to even watch, so we'll just leave it at that, how's
All
that?
right, we won't go there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just state for the record, I am Robert Costello, one of the applicants.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd seen that you did everything to let Stuart represent you at the meeting, so.
All right, well, set to go.
Yep.
All right, for those that don't know me, I'm Stuart Davis with Davis Land Surveying here on behalf of Mr. Costello. He just introduced himself. With a shoreline zoning application to, more so, a little bit of an expansion, but more so to bring it in compliant with what was done on the property, which is located at 6 Ascot Lane, shown as lot 12 in the tax map, excuse me, 22. And the deed's included in there, the current deed for the property. You've got 5,549 square feet, consisting of 49.75 feet of frontage in Haskell Lane, 58 feet on the shore. The total impervious area as it stands now is around 18.2%. So he had some tree damage on the back of the camp. Over the winter, it was a little 2-foot little addition, which became larger. And then I think Scott put a stop work order on the property. So, and Rob contacted me, so what we're here tonight to do is bring mostly everything into compliant with the addition that was put on there. We're gonna take this front steps and reduce that down from, was it 4 feet? Yeah, to a 4x4 landing, which I think is currently 6 by something. And getting the information from the town, what was permitted through the years. There was a shed that was there, 5.5 by 8, now it's 10 by 10. So we're gonna remove the 10 by 10 shed, and Rob's gonna put in a 5 by 5 there. Over here, there was a outdoor shower that was put on, it was like 5 by 5. Scott was okay with that as long as we reduce it down to 4 by 4. And then the other aspect was this piece back here of the current driveway that we were going to remove as well and kind of reseed loam. But I'll put the question out to the board. If you look at the picture that we supplied, most of his front yard is full of bark mulch now. And Scott had put a letter together before he left that said he would like to see if we're gonna do that, to put some kind of shrubbery or something there, so it doesn't turn it back into a driveway. The question for me, for the board is does the board consider bark mulch impervious?
I don't know if it matters if we consider it impervious, depends what DEP says, because they consider stone impervious, and I've always said, the eggheads up in Augusta, if you wanna sit underneath a 5-gallon bucket that I drill holes in and put stone in, and I pour water into it, is it impervious or not? But they consider that way, so.
Right.
I don't think, Scott's only issue from what I've read in his little dossier here before he left, it was not that it's impervious or not impervious, he's just having issues with a lot of people that are coming in and taking impervious areas and say they're going to non-impervious, but they're still using them to park on, so that's why he's asking. I think he's looking for a little bit more on the enforcement side, so you plant shrubs there, so you just can't stuff 8 other cars into that area that was a parking lot, and now you're putting bark mulch in. So, I mean, I don't know why that would be an issue, because basically you're trying to take some things that are out of compliance,
Right,
non-permitted,
right,
bring them into compliance,
right.
and I'm
Which
sorry,
includes
maybe this is the first one, because 10 things happened in the past that were issues that people said they were gonna do X, Y, and Z, and they didn't do, so maybe you're the person you're the applicant that is being forced to do something so that it can't be used for parking, so putting a few shrubs in there, I don't know what an issue would be on that.
The issue is, where would we park? I mean, I'll show you photographs of the space if you want. It's not even really a driveway. I mean, it's enough space for 1.5 automobiles. And it's been utilized in that manner. We had Jeff Hackett, who used to work with the Thompson Lake Environmental Association, grew up working with the shoreland issues. He and I have utilized the different bark mulch that's been qualified for this, both in the front and around the other side, on the easterly side of the property because of runoff issues. So what this really is, and I could show you other photographs, is in the spring, the water runs right off what is a road, which we have an easement over. It's really just a gravel driveway that the Hacketts have, the rest of the family that've been there. And it washes away that area. So this isn't particularly due to us. And we use this house about 40 to 50 days a year, my 3 kids and I. This is not a heavy use, this is a seasonal spot, and which we feel privileged to have the opportunity to be on Thompson Lake, and that Terry Hewitt basically chose us after it was an off-market deal. So if he wants bushes there, it seems to me it's just precluding, it's some sort of effort to preclude me to use the front porch and to back up and unload, my wife to unload groceries and the kids to access, come and go. But I'm happy to show you the photographs, but this is not a driveway. In fact, I think it would set precedent for 6 or 7 or 8 other houses down there that would have been utilizing their land in a similar way and fashion, and even more so. And I don't know if that's the efforts the board wants to take. I'm certainly not gonna raise it on there, that we have a great relationship with them. But it just seems like, I think it's a reasonable request. I will say, the work that was done, the tree was December 18th during a major storm. We had to button it up. It was the bathroom, so we couldn't use the house. The gentleman I was working with said, hey, I can build this back. And did it overstep by some square footage? Without a doubt. But the fact of the matter is if I was to drill down on the zoning code, I could put dormers up on the 2nd floor of this and create quite a bit more space. And we like it just as a simple camp, the way it is. And so I'm asking for some leeway on this one issue, if the board sees fit.
Well, once again, it's one of these things, you're not gonna get a fight out of me whether or not I think DEP's overreaching on some of these things, but once again, it's setting precedent on stuff, and that's where I have an issue. And obviously Scott has had an issue with things in the past where everyone says, we're gonna give up this, which was truly an impervious, a gravel driveway,
Okay.
and we're gonna replant, we're gonna do all this, and they didn't do that. So based on that, it's hard for us to give him guidance by saying, this is what we're approving, this is what you can enforce. So it's an enforcement issue at that point. So if we approve this and we say bark mulch is not impervious, then I don't know, I mean, honestly.
Well, can he use, you said he could use crushed stone there.
No, I'm saying,
Okay.
no, I'm saying DEP says crushed stone is impervious, which is the dumbest thing in the world. It's the same thing with gravel. I mean, gravel perks all this stuff, but not if it's packed hard. Crushed stone, why do we allow crushed stone on drip lines, on eave lines? Because it allows the water to come down, somewhere to go before it starts going and so forth. So I don't know how DEP thinks of bark mulch. I have no idea. It would have been nice to have Scott in here and so forth, but I just read what he had in our packet at the very, very beginning. And his whole thing is, I think he said he didn't have an issue with it as long as it doesn't, I mean, it seems like you're taking out some of the driveway, correct, Stuart?
Yeah, there's that little piece of 6 in the property where they park.
Yeah.
And again, it's not really gravelled area, it's kind of more of a grass area. He's got a picture here.
May I just approach, so you can see what we're talking about? Sure. Is that helpful?
And because everything else was pretty much permitted, this is about all he can
This is
really
not our house, this is the neighboring.
get down to the 18.2%.
Yeah, that's where you can.
Is that what the 3 points here, replace the shed with smaller, reduce the front step landing, and remove the gravel driveway, does that get that down?
Yeah, that brings everything down to the current 18.2%.
It's this space right here.
So,
And other projects that I've done in the past and working with different code officers, I mean, again, this just got thrown on my plate, I think Thursday or Friday, whenever Scott called me. But bark mulch has been considered as a non-impervious, so you can see by that picture right there in the front, his whole front yard is full of bark mulch. So, if you just threw a little bit more in this gravel, because he's still gonna end up having to park in that spot on his property.
And is he giving up anything?
once again, if you keep driving over certain stuff long enough, it's gonna become impervious, so. I think what Scott was basically saying is, when I talked to him, when I picked up my packet, is he said he didn't have an issue with this if the parking met what you have here and could block now having a bunch of cars in there versus what is laid out for parking currently. I think that's why he was asking for shrubs or planting somewhere that you couldn't stack
Right.
multiple,
And I get
multiple
that.
vehicles in there.
Yeah, and I get that, and Scott and I talked about that. I understand exactly what he's doing, because I think one of the projects he was bringing up was something I had to do with after the fact, but, as you can see, he doesn't have, this rest of his driveway is on his neighbor. So I guess, look for guidance from you, or maybe make a compromise with Bob here and to block off his driveway with a couple shrubbery.
I guess I'm confused because you were taking a certain amount of impervious driveway away to make this compliant, to add on impervious on the house, to stay at the 18.2. So delineate that, somehow stop that from ever being impervious again, so parking can't occur there. So what's the problem? Am I missing something? I'm not trying to be hostile here, but it just
Well,
seems,
just trying to save Jim that he doesn't have to put a couple of shrubs 10 feet into his property that he can't
but the
pull
fact,
into his front step, unload his groceries, maybe put it back.
I'm sorry, it's, other people
Well,
can speak. I
It
guess I
says
don't.
here that if you do these 3 things, you're gonna go back to the number you need.
Yes.
I don't see where it says there has to be shrubs, but I understand what Scott's saying is like, he doesn't want encroachment to happen, right? Is that what you were saying by
That's
adding
basically
shrubs?
what he's saying.
Right.
Or he doesn't want stuff to go back into more parking, which then would make that back into impervious, which would then take the 18.2, which is above what can happen, but it's an existing,
Mhm.
and drive it to 19.5. And he has no enforcement issue.
But he could have an enforcement issue if they started doing a lot of parking and then they crept past the
Why?
18.2.
Why? Because if we allow this,
We're allowing it go back to 18.2, right?
correct.
Okay, so then he has to maintain it at 18.2, and it's a violation, correct? Well, I'm
Right,
I'm
the
looking for
easy-
whether or not,
Yes,
if we don't, just looking for a solution.
sure.
If we don't insist on shrubs tonight, there's always after the fact, he could go out and say, look what you did, you added gravel, you did whatever, you've been parking here, so now we're down to dirt.
Well, it's not gravel, because they're gonna put
Right.
bark
I
mulch
said
all out there, but
he could, I mean, if somebody does, like, if I get my permit and then I compliant, and then later on I pave, couldn't Scott give me a violation because I've exceeded my impervious surface?
yeah, obviously, but this is exactly what happens. Everybody comes in and says,
I hear you.
we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and everything's gonna be perfect, unicorns and rainbows. And then things happen, and it doesn't give him an enforcement way to actually say you violated what,
Well, that's what I'm asking.
You're coming in
Can he
for.
go out and say, you've
Sure,
added
but
stuff
how
now?
how is he supposed to prove it? So he's not gonna be there every day
Right.
to monitor if they're parking where they're saying they're going to park again. But how do you prove it? So if we wanna keep it bark mulch so that we could use it in the future to put groceries or whatever, oh, we have company coming over, it's just one day. But then it becomes a couple of days, a couple of times, because life happens and that's just the reality of the world. It's just the reality of the world. How do you prove that we're now at a higher impervious surface? And,
You can
so
see
you,
it.
okay,
Well,
That's-
but right now, like, you can see rock, you can see mulch, you can see dirt, right?
but again, how do you know? Because we're not gonna be there every
But is the
day.
issue the parking or the impervious surface? Because if I read what we're dealing with a percentage of impervious surface.
Mhm.
If that was all grass, and I decide to pull a car on it, which, by the way, it's in better shape for less parking than when we bought the house, the front area. But that being neither here nor there, because of the runoff issue that I told you about, that's why we've done the mulch. But if the impervious, I didn't hear anything about the parking being an issue. It was whether somebody would turn it into a impervious surface driveway. That's the way I read what I
That's
what
what
I'm
I'm hearing too, is that we're concerned without shrubs to prevent things from happening, it'll turn into something.
And if you drive over it a bazillion times, it packs it down hard and becomes an impervious surface.
I think that's the issue, is just to delineate where the parking is, which maintains the 8.2%.
By using shrubs.
Well, no, I mean, literally, I don't care, I mean, put 2 sticks in the ground, do something on this that
But that's
shows
what my
where
question
it is.
So I thought we got to the point with this write-up that he gets back to 18.2, but then he's gotta maintain it exactly like the way it's here. Is that right, Stuart? On this drawing, if he goes to this drawing, this is 18.2, and you can't add any more impervious surface, right? So why are the shrubs being introduced then? Just to prevent him from introducing impervious surface?
Kind of like we're overreaching.
That's how I feel, I feel
think
like
we are
we're
too.
pushing on.
Overreaching because we can't control him. Someone can be approved of something, and, you know, a year later, they decide to do something else, and they don't come back to the planning board,
Right.
you know, and, I mean, or he puts 2 planters out there, well, he might move them next year, so he's got the plants that Scott wants, and then he takes them out. I mean, we can't monitor what people do
That's
after the
what
fact.
I feel, we're overreaching by the woulda, coulda, maybe.
But he's also admitted that he uses it as parking.
Well, that's the whole point, is
Which if
it's
it's
like
parking, it's
everything
going
that
to
happens
mess up the
in this town is, we get the rosy colored glasses of what's gonna happen. Things don't happen that way, I could list a couple places, people don't wanna hear it on TV, I know the code office doesn't wanna hear it, I know the administration doesn't wanna hear it. But we have court orders against people that haven't cleaned up their crap that we went to court on, okay? All I'm saying is the code office needs to have a way to figure out if they need to, because no one's gonna care about this. I mean, I'm sorry, this is becoming such a big issue, but yours is not the issue. There are issues other places in town
I
that this
understand.
stuff has
For me,
occurred.
it is the issue though,
Yeah.
just to be clear, that's why I'm here, but. and
Right,
I
well,
respect
this
that.
is the
I
issue
understand.
right
You have
now.
a bigger picture, you folks, I've
Yeah.
been coming to this town for over 10 years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I've been very impressed with the Poland's open for business, my wife and I comment every single time, and we invest in other areas in Maine that are not our getaway place.
Yeah.
And she has said to me 3 or 4 times, they're doing something right here. You folks have a much bigger job than my little spot, which by the way may end up, because of the taxes on Thompson Lake,
Mhm.
being the highest square footage. This lot is teeny, okay? I'm happy to pay it because I love the spot. But I don't understand, it seemed to me, when I read the letter, and Scott's a gentleman, he came out, we looked around the rest of the house, talked about some things that will have to be done once we get to the point we need to. But I read that as trying to stop me from accessing a car onto a spot that has been utilized for probably going on 70 years for somebody to put an automobile. And all I'm saying is, I can maintain that for grass and demonstrate that it's grass. I'll even send them a photograph, you can put it in there, I'll send them a photo every year I own the property, saying, here it is. But I get the big picture, but I don't know why on 71 square feet, I'm gonna be the one who's told I can't put a car 40 or 50 days a year onto my property to access it.
Once again, I don't personally have an issue with it, obviously, when I talked to Scott about this. He has enforcement issues on other things, I'm sorry you've been made the whipping boy on all of this, but I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but everybody that knows me just knows that's the way I talk.
That's fine.
But there have been bigger issues here, and I think it's at the point where enforcement is becoming an issue. He'd like to have more clarification on that. Put grass in there, obviously. There you go, pervious. And once again, if DEP, if you can show a letter out of DEP saying bark mulch is pervious,
Well, the original plan, we was gonna loam and seed that area.
Yeah.
It was gonna turn it into grass.
well then,
It'd still be a
then
little
we know,
seed.
I know from DEP that that's pervious.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Plant grass there. We'll do an approval tonight.
Well, that's what the intention was, is
Right.
to reseed this, loam and seed it.
Yeah.
I think it's even talked about in there, but now Scott came back and said he'd like to see shrubs.
Well, then,
So if you guys are, if you
I'm
guys
I'm
are
fine.
okay with the lawn in the lawn area without the shrubbery, and
I'm fine with
Bob
the lawn area
maintains
without
this
the
lawn
shrubs.
in perpetuity of these how many
As long
years?
as this is recorded, distance, bearings, whatever, and you're saying, just like everything's being recorded tonight, and everything you say is gonna be held to account, if you put grass in there, anybody have an issue? I have no issue.
I thought you wanted shrubs with the mulch. You
No,
want shrubs with
Scott
grass.
wanted shrubs, so he couldn't be stacking,
If you
all
go-
sorts of
if you
cars
Go
in
through the
there.
application, we
Okay.
talk about loam and seed in the area.
yeah, so. Stuart's
Scott's
thing
issue was prior things, he's trying to get some enforcement, he recommended putting up.
Right, so I misread that, I apologize, Stuart,
To kind
'cause
of
I
block
thought it was all
off
gonna go into
the
bark
driveway.
mulch, which I
So
know.
if we re-loam and seed that area, if he maintains the grass for in perpetuity, he's along there.
Yep.
Scott can drive down there any day.
Yep.
See that there's grass growing.
But you can't
I'll tell
put
you-
a path in there, so you couldn't put like concrete blocks or anything across
No.
there,
And
because
I
that's
was-
impervious.
Well,
I will not, I mean, for the record, but in
Would have to
general,
be
I will
just
not.
grass.
I understand the difference, but I also understand what the responsibilities are on the lake. And that was part of why we've gone to the extra effort, was because of the runoff issues. I mean, we do, are involved loosely, but we are involved with the TLEA, and there's this runoff along areas like this is crystal clear when you get there, and I'm sure many of you know it, but when you get in the spring, every year we come back and we put a little more of this particular mulch that's supposed to help and be safe for the lake. And so I have no intention of graveling it, and I just like to be able to put the car there. I get it, you don't want 4, 5, 6 cars there. I don't want 4, 5, 6 cars there. And frankly, it is a light use in our case. I'm not saying, if we ever sold it down the line, that's different, it's on the record. But parking of our cars down there, I will tell you right now, we are not the major issue. And I could, to the chairman's point, just driving from that house to here, I saw immense violations of properties with trash and other stuff.
Exactly.
So I'm doing the best I can. We're trying to get back in to use the house and continue to enjoy it.
No,
And everything you said, I understand and respect.
No,
So
I
we'll deal
appreciate
with it.
that, once again, it's not, we're all volunteers and we don't have to deal with what the professional staff deals with, because neighbors complain, this, that, and everything else. So, anybody have any other questions on this? It seems like everything's been explained of what's trying to happen here, so as long as it stays at the 18.2, I don't know if that's gonna be made in the motion, because it doesn't, because it's
No,
existing,
the motion,
it's existing.
he's saying he's putting the grass and seeding it.
Yep, grass and seeding it, and please just make sure you're grass and seeding it, so that, obviously Scott's been down there, you've talked, so it's more copacetic
Good
than other
communicator.
adversarial
Yeah.
relationships and stuff, so,
I hope to keep it that way, and
Okay.
I intend to.
yeah, wonderful, appreciate that. Can I get a motion that the checklist is complete for the shoreline zoning application, please?
I'll make a motion that the formal shoreline zoning application checklist for Robert Costello and Angeline Hind, 6 Haskell Lane, map 22, lot 12 is complete.
Give me a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Nobody's in the audience, all those in favor? Formal,
I make this motion, we approve the formal shoreline zoning application for Robert Costello and Angeline Hind, that's 6 Haskell Lane, map 22, lot 12.
Second.
on-site and
No on-site inspection and No public hearing.
Second that again?
Last second, yeah.
Anybody in the audience? Sure, yeah, all those in favor? All right, I'm sorry about that, but you know, some of this actually has to be put out, even though we probably have 2 or 3 people watching this. It's just unfortunately, there's been issues, and I think that's kind of what Scott was trying to get at. It would have been easier if he was here, because it would have brought up some other things and so forth, but
Okay.
I appreciate
No, I
appreciate
all
you
your
guys here,
time.
and
Thank you.
having a nice house, and bringing everything back into compliance.
Will do.
Wonderful.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, have a great evening.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Touch base with you, I got a couple more things here.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, sir.
Thanks.
I'll let Scott just
I
sign.
believe I have a couple plans to be signed,
Yes.
and then I'd like to just throw out an informal question to you guys.
Yeah, you wanna ask that first, and then we can sign stuff, and you can leave, or?
Sure. This just came up today too. Julia Ortenzio, a few months ago, we came and she was the other one that had the deck damage. We got her approved to put her deck back, or Scott was gonna allow the one deck, and we got the other deck with a little piece
Yep.
on the corner. She would like to keep the same square footage, but taking 2 feet off, I'm not sure which way it's gonna go, 2 feet off the front, put it on the back. So in other words, if you got 12 feet on the front, 10 in the back, he wants to make the back 10, 12. So my question is, she asked me, this to me seems like such a de minimis change, that if we just present a letter of what she's doing with a plan, or do we need a whole formal application to show that one deck's going from 10 feet wide to 12 feet wide, the other one's going from 12 feet to 10 feet wide, same square footage, same impervious area, same all that.
So, yes, I'm confused, so we're talking about the one that she bought from Stephen Kinney. So you're saying the shorefront one that's parallel to the shorefront, she's gonna pull 2 feet off that and put 2 feet on the side one?
I believe, yes, she's taken 2 feet off the front to make the 2 feet on the side deck bigger.
Okay.
And still have that still little,
And that
That
doesn't
little step area
encroach, does that still stay within the setbacks of
yeah, it doesn't get
the
any
side
closer.
setbacks?
Yes. Doesn't get any closer to the shore, doesn't get any closer to the sidelines.
So the
Well,
problem.
it's gotta get closer to
Gotta
the
get closer to the
sideline, because if
sideline.
you're adding 2 feet to the side, you're adding 2 feet, I mean,
It won't
but
be
does it still
in the-
meet the setback of
In the
the?
setback.
But it's still well within the 20 feet.
Okay,
Now, maybe it does, I don't know, Jim, I haven't looked at it.
well, I mean, it's,
Because we put
it's,
it-
it's,
but
I know
gonna
that,
be
'cause-
within the 20 feet.
I mean, I looked at buying that from Stephen King, so I know that lot pretty well, so. It was a set of stairs that came up with a little side thing that wasn't connected to the front deck, and then all this occurred. So,
What
but
we
if you
did
guys,
is
if you're gonna add
connected
2
to-
feet to that, going to the property line to the left, it's obviously 2 feet closer to that, so as long as it stays within, you know, the 20 feet. Is it 20 or 30, I thought?
20 feet.
Well, it's 30, but we can
Reduce
drop
to
it to
20.
20.
Well, it's 30 feet for undeveloped lots, 20
30
feet
for-
for developed lots.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So everything will stay within, she's within 80 feet of the shore, that's not gonna change, she's within the 25, or the 20-foot setbacks. I don't know exactly where the 2 feet's coming from and where it's going.
Sure,
I
sure.
think it's coming off the front, going to the back, so the front one's gonna be smaller, the big, she's gonna get me.
Well, just say front and side, because it's not back, because there's, the driveway comes down and dumps into the house, so it's front and the side.
Right.
So, at least for me, I'd like to see it back as an informal, I don't know if it has to be
It would
a
have to be
formal
informal.
application.
It would have to be, you can't vote on anything that's not informal, that's informal.
Do we
Well, we're gonna obviously have to have a site plan that's
update?
delineating all that, but I mean,
Right, was gonna update the site plan, basically give you a letter explaining what she's doing, short of doing a whole application, which we can do that too.
Well, you have to do another
It's such a de
application
minimis thing, it's not like we're changing.
because it's closed.
Oh, so
We've done, they got approval, we've done the findings of fact, we're signing them tonight, the plans. It's closed. If they had, at that time, had said, wait, we might want to change something, can we table it? And it was still open, Now, you can put on the application that everything's on record, except for the minor changes you're making, but we ask everybody else to do it.
Okay. Well, once again, I mean,
That's all
you're
I'm
looking at people
Yeah.
here that, we read this, we do the best we
Yeah.
can. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know freaking state law and all that stuff, so if you're saying it's gotta come back, it's gotta come back, once again, I think it's,
I wish it didn't, I wish we'd
Yeah.
known then and could have just tabled it to make this change.
Well,
Cause I know
and
she talked about this,
As
the
we
next
walked
day,
out the door
but-
that night, that's when it came up.
Right.
It's like, Julia,
right,
right, and it puts you in that position of delivering the bad news to her, that,
yeah,
I mean, what's the shoreline zoning application?
so it's gonna be, it's $175 for the shoreline zoning
So it's
application
175
and
plus
the
Stewart to
following.
redo the,
Yeah, I mean,
Stuff.
and I explained that to her, so you're gonna have another application fee, you're gonna have a
Right.
few hours, X amount of hours in our time, come back to the board with this whole
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Yeah, and I said, we won't be able to get you on the agenda for the end of this month, worst case, best case scenario, maybe in October.
right, I don't see
Because
why
ready to
not.
sit
yeah.
down.
The
I mean,
first-
once again, I understand it's, like you say, it's a de minimis change, but unfortunately, the site plan is, we're signing that.
Right, and the
So
findings
that's
of
gotta
fact
change, it's
done,
gotta be recorded again and so forth.
Right.
and you guys signed those at the last meeting.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I think that's the way it's gonna do, it's gonna cost her $1,000 or, I don't know what you charge, but it's
Yeah.
gonna cost her a little bit more money if she wants to go down that route, I guess.
Yeah, and I explained that outside that night, and that's when she, well, let me think about it. Well, I guess she thought about it, she came to tell Scott last week, and then she called me today.
Okay.
So I said, let me reach to the board, see what they're feeling. I said, best case scenario, maybe we won't have to do this. Worst case scenario, you're gonna have to pretty much start over. A whole
But not
new
start over,
application.
because I mean,
No.
everything's all done, it's just you
Right.
redoing your,
I mean, you can just put on the application that it's on, on file.
everything's on file except for your new,
Right,
Yeah, more
survey,
likely,
which
you're
you've
gonna
got all
take the
your
old
pins.
application to change dates and a couple other minor
Yeah.
things. You're gonna see the same thing, so.
well, might be a good moneymaker for you, I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So, yeah, I apologize about that, but I think, it's like Sarah says, was signed and everything on that, so. All right, so,
Told her no guarantees, but let me check.
okay, well, I appreciate that. You wanna wait while we sign these ones?
Yeah.
These are yours.
yeah.
Okay, so that gets through the new business. We're gonna sign some Mylars for Stuart here, but we're gonna go into any other business, just so we can, possibly get Zach out of here too and shut off everything going forward, so, Heather, do you have anything?
No.
Jimmy?
No, I'm good.
You sure? Okay, John?
Good.
My thing is, I hate to be political, but, the school district budget vote was approved September 5th, so the voting is gonna be September 17th
17th,
coming up. So if you like the value of what they're looking to spend at the school, come out and vote for it. If you don't like the value they're putting on spending at the school, come out and vote for that as well. So 8 to 8 on the voting.
Town office is closed.
yes.
Administrate,
The
just
front
the
is-
clerks.
Just the clerks out front.
So the code office and
Yes, and assessing are still
assessing
open.
are still open. So, we voted it down twice, take that for what it is, and people come out and do what you feel is right
We
going
get,
for it.
You can still get absentee ballots. I believe you have till end of day Thursday this week, so it's a very tight
It's a
window.
tight window.
We don't have control over that.
No.
That's- Is what it is, so, if you want that, definitely come and get it, but it will be easy voting if you come to the polls, so,
Has been.
yes, no.
Okay.
Isn't there also a hearing, something about a mattress fee?
There is,
Is that
I saw
here?
that, there's, going to be a public hearing, I don't know the specifics on that, I did see it on the website.
Oh, the
That,
select board.
yes,
So
it's
the
a
select
select board piece,
Okay, so it's in here probably.
yes.
So you jumped out of order, but that's
Um,
okay.
The cost for getting rid of mattresses has gone up for us, so we need to, the town, so they're trying to pass that cost along to the making
The
it go up to
person-
$25
Dispose.
to the person who wants to dispose of it. That's the only change
Rubber
on
sea mattresses on the side of the road.
Yeah, exactly. George, you have any
I'm
other
good.
business?
I'm good tonight.
Cheryl, you have any other business?
I do have some other.
Okay.
So I'm wondering about the little business on Route 11 that used to be a machine shop. There was supposed to be a fence
There's supposed to be a lot of things.
going up there.
That's a different conversation for a different
Supposed to be
time.
10
Okay.
cars too.
Mhm.
So I was just checking.
It's on the radar.
Okay. All right.
So that's what I was discussing on this other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other?
I know,
Sure.
I think that's it.
Sarah, anything on the election and
Nope,
stuff like that?
we will have a meeting on the 24th. We have the town coming forward for changes to the transfer station for loading cover for over the loading area for the bins, and then 95 McGuire Hill is supposed to be
It's
on.
supposed to come back on that.
So other than that, I don't know.
What's the thing that is on the 19th at Bone Provisions?
There, yes,
Yeah.
there's a get-together between CEDC, planning board members, and board of select persons are all invited to come and have a conversation about how to make CEDC a thriving enterprise going into the future.
So like a meeting, or is it just
It's
like
more of an informal,
drinks
it
and apps,
technically
something like that?
will be a meeting open to the public because you'll have at least on the board side, board of
Yeah.
select persons, at least 3 people makes it a quorum, so we
Okay,
have to
3 on our
advertise it
side.
as a informal meeting. But, and I don't know, I know George had said he
I
was
said I'll go,
interested in
yeah.
going, I don't
Yeah,
know
I'll-
if anyone
I'll-
else is.
I'll definitely
You're all
go.
welcome to go.
That's
But
another country, but yeah, we'll go. Our country. All right, any other thing from any board member, or can we just get a final motion? And
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor? Good night, everybody. Sign some stuff.